Are you ready to start? All right. You do that.
Can we
like
make a supercut of those one day?
I maybe. I hate going back and finding that shit though. I love it. Every fifth or sixth episode, Matt's like, and I always laugh my ass off at it. It's not funny. It's stupid.
It's not funny to anybody other than you and I. It's not even that funny, but
which is why it'll keep happening every fifth or sixth episode. Guys, this is the first time I'm back in my house since I was in Boston, and then I was in San Diego, and now we're recording, and I'm in my half of the launch pad, which I'm just so happy to be back in. I love this office. I love being here. I miss recording from it. So here we are, back in the domain. Dude, Comic-Con was so much fun.
Oh my God.
What a bitchin' good time.
It's been a while. Yeah, we haven't recorded since Comic-Con.
People were hitting us up, like people who work for Comic-Con. The photographer who is hired by Comic-Con to go take pictures was like, you guys had great energy at your panel. And I think he's right.
I thought that was super cool. He just reached out as a guy came up to us, Comic-Con guy, on the panel. And he was like, hey, can I get some shots of you guys before you get started? And then he was clicking the whole time, shooting us, doing different things for the entire panel. And, you know, that's he's for Comic-Con. So we figured we weren't going to hear from Comic-Con or him. And he just reached out to say that he liked our panel and he thought we had a cool energy. And it was fun to be there for that, which didn't someone say that didn't the sound guy say that last year? Was the most interesting panel that they did?
Yeah. The guy who runs the soundboard at the panel, he's like, I've been in panels all day. Yours was the most fun.
He was falling asleep in other ones, right? He said I was falling asleep in other ones.
Falling asleep. How great is that?
We got good news. We could say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been approved for 2 panels at Los Angeles Comic-Con. We're doing Ghostface again, Ghostface's Killer Trivia, and we're going to do a Predator panel with one of the actors who played a commando in the original Predator. More guests possibly to come onto that panel, but we'll definitely have a Predator panel, definitely have Ghostface Trivia at Los Angeles Comic-Con, which is the first weekend in October. Come find us, but for sure, we'll keep you posted with what the more details of the panel are.
Freaking amazing. I'm so excited.
Cool. Yeah, we got a lot going on. You're back. Look, and I got a brand new office/recording studio. Finally got to mount my Launchpad sign that Rumi made me years ago. Finally got a new lightsaber lit display. I got my Mr. T picture. Some of this stuff will change. I got an Ed 209. I got Ghostface Inferno, Jet Jaguar, Mothra.
Whoa, I like that Mothra, dude. That's great. Dude, the Jet Jaguar is awesome. And
right?
you sent me Jet Jaguar too. We have matching Jet Jaguars now.
I'll put all 3 up. It's an artist. I wish I had his name handy, but he's super cool.
Oh, that's a faux pas. I feel like
Edwin.
What a faux pas where you're like, well, I got this bitch in art.
You talk about it. You talk about what it is, and I will pull up his name.
It's like a picture, a cool stylized picture of Jet Jaguar, who Matt and I love. We love Jet Jaguar. Punch, punch, punch. If a kid or another adult, I shouldn't say a kid, we're adults. When you meet an adult and they're like, and you say something like, we love Godzillas. I'm obsessed with Godzilla. Jet Jaguar. And they're like, oh, punch, punch, punch. You're like, oh, this guy, we're going to be friends. This is
you know.
Yeah. And like the Jet Jaguar print is a cool picture, but then it has color variations, and one looks like Joker, one looks like the Green Goblin, it's just like cool color variations that you recognize, but on the same Jet Jaguar picture. It's really cool. Did you find who this guy is?
It's the same exact art, but just one is colored like Jet Jaguar. Same exact print is colored like Joker. Same exact colored like Green Goblin. It's great. So the artist name is Erwin Papa, ERWIN Papa, Erwin.Papa on Instagram. It looks like if you Google his name, you can find his store. He's got some good Aliens and Predator stuff. He's got way more Godzilla and kaiju stuff. Not just this, but this just jumped out at me. So now Rumi has a full set. I have a full set in my classroom, and Kent has a full set in his bedroom.
Yeah,
Kent's big.
Now
Kent's a big Jet Jaguar kid.
How you do a shout out like a professional? You have the name ready and everything. Well, what I like a professional. I came on here to say, guys, follow us on social media. We have to do the plugs: Facebook, Instagram, and X. at Launchpad Pod on our website, launchpadpod.com. Check us out on YouTube. You can see some of these pictures of what we're talking about, see some of the stuff we're throwing out. Today, we're talking about a fresh new movie. It just came out in theaters. And Ruby and I went and saw it. I haven't been to a theater in a long time, dude. It was cool.
I've gone, no joke, I must have gone 6 or 7 times in the last 2 weeks. When I saw this movie, I saw a double feature. I've been really hitting it up hard, and I couldn't be happier. I friggin' love movies, man.
I get so annoyed when I go to the movie theaters, but this was a successful event. Nobody came and was like, hey, can you scoot over? Nobody pissed me off. Nobody was on their phone. The audience was acceptable. It was fine.
Are we going to tease out the movie through the intro? Even though anybody listening to this
They already saw the picture.
They saw the title of it.
Yeah, we're talking about Alien Romulus. We went and saw the new Alien movie, the Fede Alvarez Alien sequel. So let's get into it on the Launchpad podcast.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, welcome to the Launchpad podcast. I'm Aaron.
I'm Matt.
We went to the movies. I haven't been in so long, which it felt good to go. Normally when I go to the movie theater, something pisses me off and it's like, I'm never going again.
What time and day did you go?
Went on a Thursday night at 7:30.
Okay. I think I did Thursday night at 9:20, I think.
How full was your theater?
Actually pretty full, but not crazy. But I mean, more full than I would have thought. Oh, I guess it was like technically like opening night.
There was like maybe 8 or 9 people in my theater. Total giant theater. Nobody was there. That's why I loved it.
In Georgia?
Yeah. Did you get the popcorn bucket that looks like a xenomorph head?
I wanted to get that, and I wanted to get the one that looks like the chamber that holds the face hugger.
Yep.
My Regal was completely out.
So they had them, and I was like, in today's standards of popcorn buckets, which we know the true metric, how fuckable is it? Ever since that Dune one that was just like a fucking fleshlight that you shove popcorn in, it's been like, how can I use this to service my pleasure? And the Alien one, I realized at first I was like, not fuckable at all. But then I realized, they were brilliant about it.
Not it's a giant for you.
Yeah, well, it's a giant phallus.
Yeah,
it's a giant alien head, and I was like, smart. Just like the alien
for the ladies.
You know what? We all deserve it. But then the alien canister, I was like, I think that one could probably.
Fuck that.
Did you know? Time to be alive.
I like that it's equal. It's gender, not gender neutral, but gender for everyone. Did you see there were different theaters, different chains had different ones, and there was actually 2 different head sculpts of the one had an open mouth, so boy or girl, maybe you'd be able to use that. What was your feelings on those? Did you look at the 2 of them side by side or think about the difference between the 2 different sculpts? I think closed mouth was AMC.
Yep.
And open mouth with a little bit of a neck was Regal.
Yeah. This one was closed mouth and it had like a handle underneath, so you could almost use it as like a mice socks.
Nice, yeah.
Come out.
Yeah, Predator Youngblood shield.
Just come out bashing people in the face with your xenomorph popcorn bucket.
It's made for love, not fighting.
So I didn't. The only popcorn bucket that I have is the Ghostbusters trap, because that thing, I was looking at it and I was like,
I look for that for camp.
Seriously high quality. It lights up. It has wheels.
You can actually catch ghosts in it.
Yeah, right. I was really impressed with it. And I got mine signed by a Ghostbuster. How cool
Which is
that?
Pretty baller, yeah.
Yeah, I got mine signed by the kid who plays podcast, who I work with on Dead City. Super nice guy, Logan. Fucking cool.
Giving podcasters a bad name like no other aside from Godzilla X Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong. That friggin' podcaster. Jesus Christ.
Why won't you take me into Middle Earth? Why won't you take me into Hollow Earth? Come on.
I hate this. I hate that we do this job just because of him.
I know, right?
I'm sick of our shit.
I saw something today. It's like podcast equipment should cost the same as should have the same restrictions as guns. Like you should like, this is so difficult that anybody can just start doing this. It's just
you
dangerous.
just pick up a microphone and be like, here's my stupid thoughts. And everyone else is like, ugh.
Tell me what you think about important medical decisions. And be like, oh.
I like that there are indeed podcasts for that. Me and you were like, you know which popcorn bucket you could fuck the most?
But see, that's harmless. We're not hurting anybody except popcorn buckets.
Except the popcorn buckets.
I mean, look, Deadpool and Wolverine knew exactly what was up. I'm just saying.
Yeah. They had the inside track on that. They knew what was going on. Talk about fan service.
Somebody's sitting here with their Xenomorph popcorn bucket going like, are they going to talk about the movie? Or
I'm thinking of the people who are looking at it and going, actually, yeah, you probably could. I didn't notice that before.
They're rummaging around their house looking for some sort of lubricant. They're having to Reddit right now. It's like, canola oil? Question mark?
RE Best Lube Regal Alien Popcorn Bucket? Question mark.
You go on Etsy, somebody's like, alien popcorn bucket condoms. It's just a joke.
I didn't. You said it's the new rubric, and I was like, interesting. And now I'm like, no, I think it is. Like, we could talk about the movie. I mean, maybe we will, but the popcorn buckets, we have a lot of material to go through here.
I'm telling you, ever since Dune, and like, everybody was like, do you think that Regal knows? Dude, yes, they know. The guy in the room walked in. He goes, guys, you know what we're not capitalizing on? Internet humor. And you know what those people? Yeah, exactly. And the people are like, what are you talking about, Fred? And he's like, I present to you the Dune bucket. And like, that's obscene. We can't put that out there. And he's like, think about it. I want you all to go home. And tomorrow you're going to come back and say I'm a genius. And the next morning, like, Fred, you're a fucking genius. Fuckable popcorn buckets is the future. The internet's going to grab a hold of it. They're going to go wild. They're a bunch of perverts. They're going to love it. That movie went gangbusters because of that popcorn bucket. It was genius. And to be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I hope that your theatrical performance of the boardroom thing is true, because we just had a fundraiser meeting at my elementary school and I pitched the idea of fuckable popcorn buckets and nobody was on board. I'm hoping tomorrow I am hailed as a genius when I walk back into my kindergarten classroom and they're like, all right, we thought it over. And although controversial and unconventional, we do think we'll sell out of bleep the name of my school.
What is your school's mascot?
A lion.
Rawr. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was brilliant. And I also hope that they all now come with a warning label on them that that people look at it, they're like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, do not stick genitalia inside a popcorn bucket, especially while popcorn is hot, especially while popcorn has hot butter. Please do not like the warning label on the back of these things must be a mile long. It's turning into a Dr. Bonner's bottle of warning label. It's just like, do not stick your junk in this bucket.
I don't listen to most warning labels.
I know. I usually find out after the fact where I'm like, can I sue them for the... Oh, damn it. They got me.
Oh, they knew.
They knew. It's like they were like, some idiot podcasters come along and just...
It's like when you go into... remember that Condom World on Newbury Street in Boston.
It's gone.
It was like I figured everything's gone. It was if you guys are not our age in Boston, it was a sex toy store that had like mostly novelty stuff, right? And it was all like the tiniest condom and a giant inflatable cock and all these other things. And like, there were warnings. It was like not to be actually used in sex. This is just a joke.
Yeah.
And those popcorn buckets say the same thing. We're like, we're joking that you should make love to this. Don't actually whip it out.
Now,
some people got home and were like, oh.
I guarantee you multiple people have tried it. I guarantee you within 5 minutes, I'll find you video of somebody trying it. I'm not going to. That'd be gross. But like, I guarantee
I don't want to get into
there.
it, but my popcorn bucket actually tried to seduce me. That popcorn bucket knew a good thing when it saw it.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm going all in. What movie needs a tie-in popcorn bucket?
Return of the Jedi. I mean, it's immediately that's the first one that comes to my head.
And the Dune popcorn bucket's already the prototype. You know, you just like do a little zhuzh up on that design, right. And you're there.
Disney's the black hole.
I was thinking Scream, the next Scream movie.
Okay.
You know,
in space, no one can hear you.
I mean, popcorn comes out of all three holes on that one.
On the bottom, it just says, "Surprise, Sydney." Oh man!
I mean, the next Godzilla Triple X Kong. That popcorn bucket, it lights up pink.
When you turn it on, it goes.
It's like I didn't think my popcorn bucket needed to shake the popcorn. I'm not sure. Like that's not a feature for the popcorn.
Yeah, that's not so much an in-theater experience as it is an at-home experience.
Somebody's sitting there and be like, "I'm eating it as intended." Like his popcorn's flying everywhere. People are like, "Can you turn off the vibrating popcorn cup, please?" He's like, "They wouldn't have put it here if it didn't make the popcorn better." It distributes the butter better. Oh, well. Should we talk about Alien Romulus, where like the face hugger
the movie or the popcorn bucket?
The movie where a face hugger made a popcorn bucket out of a human's face.
Yeah, that's like actually a great transition. Is as sexual as we are talking about these popcorn buckets, this movie was way more sexual. I don't think anybody was ready for the amount of face penetration and vaginas that we see in an alien movie.
Dripping. Yeah, right. It was.
Do you remember the full moon movie called Seed People?
I know
it's
this
a
movie.
shitty movie Sunday movie.
I don't remember this movie, but
it's there's these little shitty, Full Moon-esque. Full Moon is a production company that did Puppet Master series, but they all, which was like the first couple Puppet Masters were actually kind of good, but then the rest of them got a little bit shitty. Well, there's a lot of really B and C shitty horror and sci-fi movies, but they're great to watch with friends and drink beers and fuck around like shitty movie Sunday. There's one called Seed People, and essentially it is a pretty blatant Invasion of the Body Snatchers ripoff.
Right.
But the idea is that these things are seeds and they come from space. Someone finds what we were calling the vagina tree because it looked like, instead of having all these little bundles of fruit, it just looked like hairy vages all over the tree.
No.
And they were dripping. And then a guy walked up with a stick and he poked one. And right when he poked one, it splooshed all over his face, like Methicil slime through an air compressor all over him. And he turns into the first creature. When I watched the Alien Romulus and I saw the space vagina, I was immediately like, that's just like a Stan Winston version of a vagina tree. That's just what this is. Seed People. Look up Seed People vagina tree. You'll see it.
I'm regretting this search. I'm regretting this search already.
do we want to start with like overall feelings of the movie, or do we want to start like with the beginning and what it's about and how we, what the movie?
All right. So Alien Romulus, it takes place after the first Alien film. And this is so the original Alien film, the Ridley Scott Alien film happens. Sigourney Weaver shoots the alien out into space. She goes into cryosleep. That's the end of the first movie. Y'all have seen it. This takes place after that. This is a direct sequel to that movie. And it starts with like wreckage of the Nostromo and this other spaceship that seems to be like drone piloting, catching a piece of space rock, bringing it to another location, cutting said space rock in half, and everybody being like, whoa, we got our prize. And inside the space rock shape, the negative mold of it, you see the xenomorph, and then it plays the opening titles, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm already hyped up. This looks so good. That's my initial impression of the opening.
Mm-hmm.
Then we jump to this planet. It's dark. It's raining all the time. And it says there's no sunlight on this planet. Mining planet, right? And we meet our main characters. And who are our main characters, Remy?
Main characters are the little girl from Civil War. And she's like, it's a little white girl and a African-American dude who seems like handicapped. He seems a little slow. And she clearly is the guardian of the two of them. She's trying to get them off world, and the company, Wayland Yutani, right?
Yep.
She's like, I have enough points to get off world. And they're like, psych, we just upped it. And now you can't leave for 2 more years.
It's classic company store bullshit, man. Mining company, mining town. This is the company store. You owe them. They own you. It's bullshit. Indentured servitude at its finest.
And it's like very in world. And it definitely feels aesthetically, I think it feels a lot like Alien and Aliens, which is clearly what they're going for, but I think it succeeds. It feels like it's in that world. And she comes back out, and immediately we find out that the guy she's with, the African-American dude, is a synthetic.
Yep.
So
his name's Andy.
He's old school, Wayland Yutani, android stuff. He's defunct, and he's like, not optimum droidage. Her friend calls her over, and they have this plan. They're going to take one of these ore miner ships up into the atmosphere, up into space, up into orbit, where there's an old ship, parts of an old ship that's been decommissioned, and they have sleeper pods that they can steal and use to get to the next system or wherever they're trying to go get away.
And
they
right
need
now,
these pods, otherwise they can't. They're too far away from any other planet or system to get to without these sleeper pods.
And right now, I'm on board. I'm like, okay, sure, I'm on board.
Me too.
Sounds good.
A lot of exposition. Like this could have been sped through a little bit more, but your character building, you're introducing me to the people. A couple people have a problem with the android, which is a very tropey alien thing to have. You got to have that. Okay, fine. The girl's reluctant to get involved, but then she's like, oh, they need her because they need the android.
They need the android to talk
the
mother.
Only thing. Right. Yeah. And it's the computer system on the ship that they're trying to salvage and pillage, right?
And they go up and they cross out of their atmosphere, which is a huge cloud cover, and Rain, our main character, sees the sun for the first time, and it's impressive. It's beautiful. They are on a planet that has a ring, like Saturn has a ring of ice crystals around it, which is cool, and comes up later.
Chekhov's ice crystal ring.
Yeah, Chekhov's Saturn ring. And then they see the ship that they're looking for, and it's not a ship. That's no moon. That's a space station. And immediately I'm like, wait a fucking second. But okay, it's fine. This is easily glossed over until later.
So they introduce a soft ticking clock element, and as they're getting there, they're like, we have 3 hours to get in and out of here. Otherwise,
36 hours.
Oh, sorry, 36 hours before the orbiting space station slowly descends into this ring and is going to be destroyed. So Rain is like, wait, what? You didn't tell me that. He's like, hey, we'll be out of here in 30 minutes. We got 36 hours. Yeah. So clearly, like that's coming, right?
Right, exactly. Ticking clock. Yeah. And I'm like,
okay.
I was really thinking when he said that, I was like, that doesn't seem like too big of a problem. It didn't even occur to me that this was going to, like, obviously the clock would shorten somehow, obviously. But I was like, I mean, 36 hours. That's fine. I mean, I would be okay with that because I'm thinking about myself at what point am I going to be like a little like nervous Nelly about it? Like, oh guys, I don't think we should go in there. I think there's going to be a problem because I'm really good at worrying about shit like that. So I was like 36 hours. Shit, even I would go in there. So like, fine.
For those of you guys, and I think we've said this before, like Rumi is the mastermind behind all the technological aspects of this podcast. He edits it. He puts it together. He's in charge of all of the technology stuff. All of the editing, all of the nuts and bolts. I do all of the scheduling, all of the producing, all of the writing up proposals and shit. So if we were going into this orbiting station and I was like, Rumi, we have to go here. We're going to get off our ship at 8:00. We'll be back on our ship at 8:30. You'd be like, okay, no problem. I got that. Yeah. You don't care. Rumi never wants to know. I'm like, do you want to know? He's like, nope, just tell me where I need to be. I don't want to know anything about it.
You wouldn't even have to tell me about the impending ice crystal problem.
I wouldn't tell you. I'd be like, that's no problem. I'll tell you once the ship actually starts hitting ice. I'll be like, hey man, we got to get going.
And so they go on board and they have to crawl through this vent. And Andy opens the door with his little fingies, like boop, boop, boop. Shit.
Oh, he's got little regular fingers acting like R2D2 penises.
Not a popcorn bucket. So they crawl through and they get inside and there's no gravity. And I'm like, well, that's fun. We've never I don't think we've ever seen zero gravity in an alien film. It's cool.
Yeah, I agree.
So they go inside, stuff's floating around, but then it would crash, boom. And then boom, collapse. There were cycles. And they turn it on and then they find their cryo tubes. And they're like, great, let's get out of here. Oh no, cryo tube doesn't have enough cryo juice to get us to where we're going. But don't worry, just down the hall, there's more cryo juice. And I'm like, this seems really easy. They're going to be done with this mission in 5 minutes.
Well, I'm immediately like, why are you giving me two goals? Like, why did you make a goal of we got to get the cryo tubes and now there's not enough juice. Now we got to get the cryo juice. Why couldn't you just have tried to get the cryo tubes, but you had to go to the next room? But anyway,
you haven't played enough video games, Rumi. What happens in video games? Hey, I made it to where I'm supposed to be. Hey, our princess is in a different castle. You got to go get it. And it's like, of course. All right. Da, 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 da. And it seems easy enough, but that's how they get you into 8 levels, 3 games later, 6 systems. Right. And here I am still playing Mario, and I've never once got that princess. So here we go.
So you're right. Their princess is in another cryo chamber.
So they go over there and the door's a little cranky, but they get right in, no problem. And they pull out the cryo tube. It's a little cranky. One guy gets his hand frozen.
Water, which always freaks me out in a space station. Like in the first Alien, when Brett walks into those chains and there's some sort of liquid dripping on him and takes his hat off and you're like, I assume you know what that liquid is and you're okay with it. But is it supposed to be dripping? Like, where are you?
The camera just pans up and the alien's just pissing on him. It's like, what? Like, you don't know what that is. I never drink water anymore. Like when I was a kid and you like saw water on a leaf and you'd be like, dip, dip, dip. Or like rain, like
where did you grow up? Fern Gully? Who drinks water off leaves?
Indiana, man. We're running around barefoot, finding porn in the woods. Come on. It's like,
did you drink that too?
Roll it up into the life straw.
Now I know why you fuck things you find at movie theaters. Yeah, I was drinking things and fucking things in the forest. Why wouldn't I just finish my popcorn and go to town? God damn.
Finish your popcorn.
Just everyone think about it. I don't care what kind of genitals you have, but just imagine what that would feel like for a second.
Terrible. Salty, buttery, awful.
Oh my God. All right, Alien Clitoris. What's the name?
Alien Romulus. So the space station says that like the space station has 2 halves. One is called Romulus. One is called Remus, which are the 2 founders of Rome that suckled off the wolf's teat. There's a lot of teat suckling in this movie. So they're on obviously the Romulus side. Cool. And they find the water and they find the cryo tube, but when they pull it out, the temperature starts going up and they can't see it. But as they go further into this room, the camera takes us on a little journey and shows us all these freaking face huggers.
Freeze dry wrapped face huggers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. What is it called when you do the vacuum formed face huggers?
Yeah.
And their temperature's rising and they start moving and you're like, oh, these guys are fucked.
And we see it and they don't see it. So we know it from other movies. We know what a face hugger is. We also, even if you didn't know, the other people in the movie don't know that the face huggers are starting to come to life. So even if you don't know what a face hugger is, you know that something is coming to life in that room and that the characters don't know.
And they go to try and leave the room and the doors won't open. And they're like, oh, no. Freaking rad.
I love this scene. This is probably, and if you guys have seen the trailer, this scene is featured pretty heavily in the trailer. And I love it. I think it's great.
So they're trapped. So the other people on the spaceship who have been watching are like, oh, shit. Well, we'll go on and we'll get you. We'll be right back. So Rain and one of the other characters, Navarro, they get off their spaceship. They go into the spaceship and they go to try and save them. And they can't get the door open. And they said, well, hey, back in this other room, there was an android on the floor who was all fucked up, tore up, and he's right near a giant melted out hole, which we know what that means.
Right.
And they're like, maybe we can pull the thing out of his head, put it in Andy's head, and then he can open the door. We'll give him clearances that way. And I'm like, bullshit. But okay, I'm still here. I'm still on board.
Sure. Yeah.
Fully on board with this movie.
I don't know how androids work. That makes sense. And if you got to take the USB out of one, stick it in another. Now he has clearance. Okay.
Sure. I'm still, nothing has broken me yet. I'm still super on board. They do that. He needs to reboot. But as he's rebooting and he's like, and he's like, freaking out. His eyes are rolled back in his head with the Wayland Yutani. Yeah, it's cool.
Windows, Microsoft Windows logo going across.
Yeah, it's like the blue screen of death as it restarts. The face huggers start going nuts. They're popping out of the vacuum forms, swimming in the water, jumping.
And there's like a foot or two of water. It's enough water that you can't see them.
Yeah, and they're jumping on people's faces, face fucking their mouths, and you're like, oh god, it's the most graphic we've ever seen a face hugger. It's so gross. It's so violating. It is uncomfortable. It's so raw, and it's jumping on people, and they're trying to break out, and they're punching them, and they're hitting them, and trying to fight their way out. Andy reboots, jams his little finger in the R2-D2 hole, and the doors open. Facehuggers, doors close just as they can. All the fingers are coming out, and one jumps out and grabs Navarro's face.
Who's the pilot of the other ship?
And they're
like, the good guy ship.
Yeah, they're like, oh fuck. They drag her into the other room, and they're trying to figure out how to get this thing off her, and they can't. And then they're like, well, we know somebody who might know, and so they wake up the android, and this is where I'm out. This is where the movie
all the way out.
This is where the movie broke me. Not at first.
Sure.
The repeated vision. What in the Ian Holm deep fake fuck was that?
Is Ian Holm still alive?
Ian Holm died in 2020, dog. It's so
okay. That makes it a little bit more understanding.
No, not at all. Don't do this shit. Okay. It's Ash from the first movie.
It's another model. Well, the same model, but another robot, right? His name is Rook. And they have it looks like Ian Holm, but it looks like a computer-generated Ian Holm. And his face, I think he's very much damaged. He very much looks like almost like the damaged Bishop from Aliens.
Yes.
He's only half. He's like from the waist down.
Cut in half. He looks and sounds like him. That's an AI voice of his.
Oh, really? I didn't realize
his voice, too.
Literally is AI? They made it with AI?
Yes. Here's the problem, though. It looks like dog shit. How did a human being sit in a darkened room surrounded by VFX professionals, point and go, thumbs up, put it on screen? It is such a failure of human face replacement. And it's my job. I'm a VFX supervisor. It's done with like some sort of deep fake technology, but the face, the proportions are off. They float, they change. The lip sync completely off, doesn't match the words he's saying. And people are like, hey, he's a robot. It's okay. There's a lot of spaces where this could be okay. But when you do this, when they did it to Carrie Fisher, when they did it to Grand Moff Tarkin, It doesn't work. And if somebody's dead and you're going to bring them back with technology, you have to fucking nail it. You have to do it perfect. This is disrespectful to the dead. It's unethical for VFX, and it's dog shit. Get a person who looks like him, put him in makeup. The whole audience goes, "It's not him, but I forgive you."
Right. I know what you're doing.
I know what you're doing. It's fine. Jack but Jack Nicholson in Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
Totally fine. It worked. It wasn't him, but it's fine. But every time they cut to this face, I just cringe because I have so many issues with how they're doing it. And then on top of that, the ethical nature of bringing somebody back from the dead when they have no say in that. It's bullshit.
Technically speaking, Ian Holm is owned by Wayland Yutani. So as part of the belonging to the company, they're allowed to resurrect your image.
That is very much truer than you think. And so funny, not funny. Like, it's true.
The thing about it that got me was, you mentioned Grand Moff Tarkin, right? I forget, was that Rogue One?
Mm-hmm.
That was for one scene, 1 or 2 shots.
Yep.
We have entire scenes, plural, with this guy as a main character.
He's a main character in the whole
movie. So he's talking a lot, and he gets a lot of screen time, a lot of different angles. It's not just a quick cameo. So for it to not work, everything you said, I don't disagree with. But for me, it was just so unnecessary that it broke my suspension of disbelief, because now I'm wondering why and how we did this.
This is
a broken robot.
Yeah.
He could have looked like anybody else and we would have understood. He did not need to look like Ian Holm for this to work. It could have looked like you or me and just been like, I'm the science officer for this particular ship. My directives are this. Okay, I get it. Fine.
Yeah.
Or he was so badly damaged, you could have had a damaged Ian Holm model robot and use the damage to cover up that it wasn't actually Ian Holm. Get a lookalike, make a puppet. It's a fucking robot. They did that with Bishop in the second one. They did that with Ian Holm at the end of the first one, right? Like, they used a puppet in some shots. I just couldn't understand why they were doing that unless they thought it looked good and was clever. And it wasn't.
And here's the thing. I don't blame the artists who had to do this. They were put down a certain path, because you could have also built the head completely in CGI. They were going a path that, for whatever reason, you went too far down before you could go back.
Sure.
If you're an artist who I know who might have worked on this, I'm sorry you were put in this position. Probably wasn't your fault. You were told to make it go this way. This is the way we're going to do it. And you don't get out. But it's like, if, as a practical guy, if you saw makeup and all the seams are like showing and peeling up, and you're like, how did somebody not see that on the day and just fix it?
Right.
It's bad. And I also think it's like, if somebody dies while making your movie, by all means, you get a pass to finish your movie. Black Panther 2, the third Star Wars movie that Princess, Carrie Fisher passed away while making it. Great. You can finish your movie however you have to. But to bring somebody back nearly 45 years later for a role that they don't know how they're being portrayed, to me, is absolute bullshit. Don't do that to
me. On a moral ground.
On a moral ground. Because here's what's going to happen. We are now going to get entire movies where none of the cast is alive. Humphrey Bogart gets to meet, give me another dead actor.
Ian Holm.
Yeah, right. And it's like,
I'd buy that popcorn bucket.
And it's like, and now you're just going to be resurrecting entire casts of dead people. It's going to be bullshit. And we need more roles for existing actors, not dead ones. Stop that shit.
So see, it's interesting because I didn't, for a second, maybe because I didn't know it was AI, but I didn't consider. I also wasn't sure if Ian Holm was dead, but I didn't consider the moral thing. But here's the thing. I like this device of having the robot give the characters exposition, because whether you're new to this franchise or not, this robot explains to our new protagonist, our new crew, that this particular part of the company found the alien from the first one. It says that people in this station killed it, and he looks at the ceiling and everybody looks up, and the hole that was burned in the floor next to him the alien is, splattered above him with the grappling gun through it from the first movie, which I thought was like a pretty cool little nod.
Pretty cool, yeah. And
I
he's all
like
he's all Jesus up. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, I like that there is an android, a company android, that is saying this is the priorities. We need to focus on this. Essentially, that android kind of pulls our android into his
Andy,
direction.
Yeah, he's like, Andy, come here. And Andy's now dialed in. When they gave him the upgrade, now
he's part of Skynet. He's on board with us. Humans are a little emotional for this kind of situation.
Exactly. Andy's dialed in, and his intellect has changed. It's cool because the actor nails it.
Does a great job. Literally, his whole body language, his facial tics, and the way he speaks and moves. And then he gets his shit together, but almost with, robotic precision. So there is a scene where there's a closed door, there's a pregnant woman and an alien on one side of the door. And they're like, we got to open this door. And Andy's like, no, we can't open the door.
It moves faster than we can close the door.
And that is a huge part of this franchise, right? Is this thing about like the robots in this movie, all these movies know about the alien, whether they're right or wrong morally. But like, this is a great way, I think, to approach that paradox in this movie. And I like the idea of using this other robot to kind of pull Andy onto his side, and also as a device that is telling the characters and the audience bits of information. And I like that. But the fact that those scenes were fake to me because of this fake AI Ian Holm thing, it was like, why did you didn't have to do it that way. It was very special edition where it was like, the idea is cool, but you're doing it too bad, too much, too obvious that it's ruining it for me. You're taking me out of this scene. And it was a good scene. I liked it. I liked where we were going. I liked what you were building.
He does nothing wrong. As a character, he does everything right. It's just the process took me so out of it. And that that every time I saw him on screen, I was like, and just made it worse. So this was the first moment that I'm watching the movie, and to do our balloon thing.
Yeah.
A big AI fake CGI shitty hand went slap and like bonked it way down.
Push that balloon down.
And I was like, but okay, then we got to see a dead alien. Now
they have a clever use of cryotechnology to
they use
freeze.
The cryogas. Yeah, they freeze the tail.
The face hugger gets frozen a little bit. They're able to pop it off their pilot. They all get back on her, or a couple of them get back on her ship.
And they go, we got to go. And Andy goes, she can't come with us. And they're like, why not? And he's like, there's a 60% chance that she's been infested with whatever that was. And they're like, what? He's like, she can't come. And they have already established that they don't trust the androids because of what happens in the mines. The androids pick like the
needs of the many outweigh.
Yeah, they do the trolley problem, and they're like, one person versus 10 people, 3 people versus 12 people. But he's like, she can't come on board. And they outrun him, slam the doors, and he's like, next time I will not be fooled by the timing of the door. They get on the ship and they try to take off and leave them there. But on the ship, there's a pregnant chick, the asshole like boyfriend guy, and then Navarro, who has who had the face hugger on her, and she's like, and the pregnant lady's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And she takes this like hand scanner X-ray, puts it on her back, and then you see her rib cage breaking. And I'm like,
that was a cool scene. You've seen some of that in the trailer. I thought that was really cool. They played it up. They delivered it because they teed it up. That machine, it was like a handheld X-ray device. You could see your bones with it.
So cool.
It was a cool way to show that situation.
We didn't even get to talk about it because the trailer did it in the style of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre trailer, which was, but instead of the photograph sound, it was crunch, crunch. And that sound was playing throughout the trailer. And you're like, what is that rhythmic thumping? It sounds like breaking spaghetti. What is that? And then the last shot of the trailer is her holding up and it popping out of her chest. And I was like, oh, what a baller way to introduce that and do that. But also, now I know that character's going to die. Fuck you, trailer.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Fuck. But it was such a good trailer. I was so on board. This was such a cool chest burster moment because you see it through the X-ray. You see her ribs breaking. She falls on the ground. The pregnant chick's holding her, and the thing's and like pops between the ribs, like has to lift the bones up to. And I was like,
that was actually one of the little touches that, whether it was on purpose or not, I liked the most. This was one of my favorite part of the movies. When you think about that iconic chest burster scene in the first one, that thing bursts. There's a big blood burst first, and then the entire little phallic alien pops out like a fist, right?
Yeah.
In this one, her chest pops open, and you see the alien. When she collapses on the floor, there literally is like a big cut, a big gash in her chest, and the alien pushes through it, and like you see kind of like flaps of skin and flaps of muscle and sinew push it open. And I was like, I love that seems so more visceral, and it's different. Like, right or wrong, up or down, you like it or you don't like it. It's different than the first one, so it's just not another chest burster scene. I thought that was
so
super
cool.
effective.
Yeah, I'm back, baby. I'm on board. While she's getting chest burstered, she accidentally kicks the controls of the spaceship, and it goes smashes into the space station, and then crashes in an open bay door, then breaking some windows, and the atmosphere starts rushing out. The pod bay doors close, and now we're in the next act 2, and they're fucked. So
now ticking clock is going faster because the ship crashing into the space station is fucked up its orbit, so now it's falling faster towards the rings.
Now they have 30 minutes.
Right, now we got a real ticking clock element. And then now we know that there's at least one xenomorph on their ship, right?
Yep.
So, and their ship is now crashed into the docking bay, so it's still like there. There's people still in there and alive, and half of our crew, including Rain and Andy, are now trying to get across the space station to their ship to see who's there and who's alive. There's a pretty cool Silent Hill-esque scene of they figure out that the face huggers see people based on hearing their movement, but also sensing their body temperature. So they raise the heat in the room to body temperature and then kind of traverse through the room without disturbing the face huggers.
Like so classic. Just like he's like, hey, I have to do something really specific. I have to be really calm. His girlfriend calls. No, it's his sister.
Yeah.
It's his sister, his pregnant sister. And he's like, hey, I can't talk right now. I'm doing something really like particular and serious. And she's like, I'm being attacked by a xenomorph. Where? And he's like, hey, I know.
He was crying though too, right?
Yeah,
he was,
of course. No, I feel bad for him. It was really intense. But like, what a tense scene. A room full of like creepy. It reminded me of like the spider scenes from like a Lucio Fulci film, where the spiders are all coming after you. I thought it was awesome. And the spiders
that's you talk about like a blend of effects. I know that they used a lot of practical puppet stuff. They also used a lot of CG stuff. That played really well. All that facehugger stuff was great.
They so really good.
Scenes of like 24 facehuggers running down a hallway, scrambling around, jumping over things, flinging themselves at people's faces. I really felt like the suspense was there, the tension was there, it held up, and you believe that these people were in this jeopardy of the facehuggers. So I thought that was a really effective scene.
Awesome.
Facehuggers looked a little bit more menacing than normal. They looked a little spiky. But like, cool. I'm on board with it. I thought it was working good.
It looks so good. And here's the thing. There is great CGI in the movie. Like the seamless blend between real face huggers and fake huggers. When the face huggers grabbing the guy's face and jamming shit down his throat, that's probably CGI, but it looked great. The fact that I couldn't tell you where the seams were in certain aspects, the space stuff, all CGI, looked great. Maybe some models of the spaceship. Who knows? It looked that good.
Yeah, it was really good.
So the fact that you can pull off amazing effects, and then you have this one that's just like freaking Scorpion King level terrible. Somebody was like, dude, that's too far. And I'm like, when was the last time we all went, what the friggity fuck? I mean, I don't think Princess Leia was this bad. Grand Moff Tarkin wasn't this bad.
No.
Scorpion King was the last time everybody went, no, that's not right. That's not good.
Veto. Hit that veto button.
Hit that thumbs down. But at least The Rock was still alive. They didn't drag him out from the grave to be like I know they're like, oh, but his estate said it was okay. Yeah, but they're watching like, I didn't want to see Grandpa like that. Yeah, like what the fuck? Come on. Anyway. So yeah, they're traversing this awesome facehugger room. They get a really gnarly call. Meanwhile, back on the spaceship that's trapped in an air duct in a landing bay, a pregnant lady is being menaced by a xenomorph, which is freaking cool. And she and the boyfriend, who's all banged up, he's like, "Oh no, my girlfriend's dead." They go down to try to get out of the ship, and this is where we find the big dripping space vagina. It's like an egg. Have we seen this before?
No. Well, all right. So they leave the spaceship, and against the wall is really like, if you haven't seen it,
it's a giant vagina.
It does look like a giant space alien vagina on the wall.
It is there. It isn't trying not to be.
It's looking, inside there's something moving around. We do see like the vagina lips open a little bit, and we see what looks
labia
like labia
majora. Come on, Matt. We're going to be very clinical about this. The space labia open up.
And you see a little bit of the dome of what, we as someone who's seen this franchise can assume it's the phallic alien head.
Who have birthed children have seen.
You see a little bit of like the alien tail. So we've never, as far as I remember, and I think I remember, we've never seen this. However, in the original director's cut of Alien, there is supposed to be a scene where we see Dallas and Brett stuck to a wall, morphing into something. And the idea at the time, as I understand it, was that they were turning into an egg to make more face huggers. And that was before the concept of a queen, meaning that a regular, what we now know as an alien warrior or an alien drone, could reproduce by somehow making those victims into eggs.
And to that end, there is also a scene in that movie where the drone brings an egg onto the ship at the very end of how the facehugger got in there, which, interesting.
So it's like, but I don't necessarily count that because it's not canon, but it doesn't matter because that can't be what this is, because that wasn't a person. She finds
it's just his cocoon. It's his cocoon.
She finds the molted skin.
Yeah.
And I guess it does make sense that it would come out of that molted skin of the chest burster and do something else. But I didn't think it was vagina on the wall. But guess what? It's vagina on the wall.
Yeah.
So boyfriend's like, "Oh, I got this," and sticks a cattle prod.
I know how these work.
Yeah, he has a giant thing that looks kind of like a rabbit's head, and he starts.
His treatment of this just really tells me what kind of a lover he is. He's just ram it in there.
Yeah, there was no foreplay at all to try to kill this alien.
He's not even trying, man. He's just jamming a cattle prod up in there as hard and fast as he can, and it causes a ruckus. But when he does that, it oozes out acid blood. And it gets all over him, and you watch his fingers like melt away. Which
I forgot about that.
Freaking cool.
Yeah.
I
Does
wasn't.
he get tail stabbed too?
Well, after this, yeah.
Okay.
He gets a bunch of acid on him, and then I think he tries to get up and does he get tail stabbed or does he just get acided?
Anyway,
he gets fucked up and died, and then she's trying to escape, and the xenomorph births, which is cool. I'm not opposed to cocoon thing. I'm not mad at it.
I was okay with that. I thought that was very much because, again, like, no joke, like, well, we are joking, but like, it does look like a vagina. And Covenant, right, tried so hard to link Prometheus with the aliens that we know and showed all these different birth processes and birth things. And I was like, okay, I feel like this is this franchise's version of the Clone Wars cartoon, where they're like, okay, we all saw the last two Alien movies, and we're not going to apologize for them.
You just said like four of the things I hate the most.
I know. But
you're like Clone Wars, prequels, Covenant,
but it's like
Prometheus.
Clone Wars was like, the Clone Wars cartoon show was like, look, we all saw this and know that happened. Let's salvage what we can. And then they made some cool shit out of it. So I felt like at this point when I saw wall vagina, I was like, what the fuck is wall vagina? But I was like, okay, you're taking this concept of birth. And I know that there's a pregnant woman in the same scene. So you're making some connections and stuff there, and you're showing the alien be birthed from the wall vagina. I wasn't against it. I didn't dislike or argue it, debate it.
Yeah. She gets menaced, but then opens the door and then immediately falls from a very high height. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
ugh.
forgot about that.
Yeah, she falls from a very high height. She's hiding from the xenomorph. Outside, Rain, Andy, and Tyler, they come to a closed door, and she's banging on the door. Help me, help me, help me. And I was like, oh, shit. And they're like, Andy, open the door. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not. And they're like, no, help her, help her, help her. And she's up against banging on the door, and the alien comes behind her and gets her in the back. And I was like,
and pulls her straight up out of frame.
Yeah, blood splats on the window.
The whole time I'm like, why? Like, because the whole first act, she announces she's pregnant and then is in a bed in the ship, not in the movie for the rest of the time. And I was like, what are you doing with her? And then when this happened, I was like, oh, you're just trying to show me like Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. We're not afraid to kill a pregnant chick. And I was like, all right, hats off to you. I'm on board with that.
Yeah, they kill a pregnant chick, or so you think. They're mad at Andy, but he's like, look, you would have died. If we open the door, that thing can get through faster than we can close it. We would have all been dead. And they're super pissed at him. And they're like, we need to find weapons and we need to get out of here. And to get out of here, we need to go to Romulus, the other side of the space station. There's a laboratory there. The Rook robot, the fucking CGI monstrosity, keeps telling them that they can, if they go here, he can get them out. Okay. So they travel through the station. They get to this laboratory. And this is where the movie just fucking popped the balloon. They get inside, and inside the laboratory, there's all these gross, like, face huggers and tubes. And in the middle of the room, there's a giant, like, vat of black goo. And I go, no.
Oh, yeah. And isn't there like a hologram showing the flower vase from Prometheus?
Yeah. And somebody was like, well, you knew Ridley Scott was like super involved with this. There's no way he wouldn't let them erase Prometheus. Right. He's trying to make Prometheus a thing so hard, and we all want to forget it. So stupid. So fucking stupid. I hate Prometheus goo so fucking much. This movie just kicked me in the nuts over it. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, you need to get this canister of alien goo. It's important because that movie Prometheus sucks so bad and you need to get it. And I'm like, no. And they're like, but over there's some pulse rifles. And I'm like, okay, maybe. They're like, you want to watch some pulse? The movie was like, hey, sad podcast, do you want to see some pulse rifle action? I'm like, no. They're like, come on, look at these pulse rifles. They auto aim. And I'm like,
I was going to say it's pulse rifle with smart gun technology. And you're like,
okay, fine. So
what you didn't look, you didn't look with your face, but you looked up with your eyes and you were like, what are they going to do with them? Are they going to shoot them? And they were like, no.
And I was like, you better do something really fucking cool because I'm pissed off right now. So then they go out and they see that there's all the like alien hive shit going on, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. And there's that like layer of like bioluminescence that's from the first movie that they never explained.
When you break it, it makes that noises. Yeah.
And this movie was like, I'm gonna finally explain that. No, it didn't.
No, I'm gonna show it. I'm not gonna show it. What it is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you anything about it. To me, that was just like the alarm system. You cross that barrier and all the eggs go, ooh, I'm awake.
But this is kind of a cool idea in the movie, though, because we as the audience, as well as I guess the crew, thinks that there's one alien that they're dealing with, the one that we saw, laid in birth, chest burst, and wall vagina birth. But now we know that there's clearly other aliens, other xenomorphs running around on this station. Yep. So now you're like, now I actually don't know fully what this threat is, right? It's going to be bigger than what I thought.
So they're like, let's just go a different way. But as they're about to leave, they hear like, oh, help me. And it's the pregnant chick. And they're like, oh, shit. And they go and find her and she's alive. And they're like, did a thing get on you? And she's like, no. And they're like, because she's dying. And they're like, well, let's get her on the cryo chamber and get her back home. We can get her safe that way. I'm like, oh, this might actually have an okay ending. This is setting it up. Mm-hmm. And they turn around, a bunch of aliens are coming. Xenomorphs, cool xenomorphs. Awesome shots of the xenomorphs with their like cool lips.
Yeah, look cool.
Cool. And they get the pregnant chick on an elevator. They're like, maybe we can inject her with the goop. And I'm like, don't do that. That's never been a good idea. Please don't remind me. I'm like, I'm still mad about that goo.
And then Rain is like, no, my gut says don't do that. Because the Rook, the other older android, the broken up android was like, this goo is like the key to saving people and doing all this great stuff. Here's this video of this mouse getting better because of the goo.
He got squished and then they inject it and he gets better. But then as they leave, the video keeps playing and the mouse goes and transforms
Turns into venom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
So we know he shouldn't be injecting with the goo. Rain says, no, I'm not going to do it. But the pregnant chick ends up
injecting herself with the goo.
Right.
She goes up. Okay. So now
she's escaped or in the process of escaping. Rain and Andy are stuck.
Rain goes back down there because the boyfriend gets killed by xenomorphs. Andy freaks out and curls up into a ball on the floor. Didn't get his earmuffs. So Rain comes and picks him up and she takes the shit out of his head that made him smart android. Now he's back to special android.
Empathetic, outdated.
Yeah. Handicapped android. That's fine. So they're being cornered by aliens and she's like, I have a great idea. And he's like, what is it? And she's like, we're going to turn off the gravity because there just happens to be a button right here.
I agree with that. Oh, but we didn't say this though. So they are on the lowest level at this point. Yep. And Andy says those guns will be useless because you can't fire them. The alien blood will leak through the floor, which is the bottom level of the space station, and suck us into the vacuum into space.
Yep.
So, and then the boyfriend was like, well, then why did you give it to us? He's like, I'm assuming the aliens are smart enough to know that they're a threat. So hopefully we can posture with the guns, which I thought was a shitty explanation. But at least I had the same question. I was like, why did you just give everybody a gun if you're not allowed to use the guns? But okay, you explained it.
But there's a simple change to this. I give you the guns. You're about to shoot the aliens. And you go, whoa.
I just realized.
I just figured this out. Yeah. Hold on. But they were like, hey, we have a quiet moment before the aliens show up. We better do this exposition now because it'll take too long later. Anyway, so she presses the conveniently placed button. I don't care about that because now we get one of the most bitchin' scenes ever. And the balloon just got popped back up. I'm back, baby. I'm back on board. Yeah, you can't get mad at me. Anti-gravity, fucking xenomorph fight. And look, the Godzilla X-Con taught me anything about anti-gravity fights. They're fucking bad ass. So she's on the ground. Andy's got her in the back. She's got the auto assist machine gun. Everybody's floating in the air. Xenomorphs are coming at her, and she's like, brap, 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 brap. And I was a little kid on the playground again, being like, they're coming. And we're like fighting aliens, and like kids are getting, oh my God, this was so cool. The buds floating in the air, and then she's like, we got to get back to the elevator, and then they have to do this bending over, like Catherine Zeta-Jones diving through the lasers, get around the fucking xenomorph
because
blood.
now the slight inertia of the aliens traveling from right to left has made their blood going in that direction. The characters have to go from left to right, so they have to swim their way through without touching any blood. Very much a video game level for sure. I could see that.
Fucking cool.
And then it adds the thing of, we've already established that when the gravity is off, it needs to purge itself by turning the gravity back on for a second every couple of minutes. Yeah. So now there's a literal timer in the room that's showing them how long until gravity will get turned back on, which means not only will they fall, but the blood will hit the floor and suck them into the gravity of space. So they got to haul ass through this blood, get around with it without touching to the other side.
Great scene. What a great scene.
It was great. I agree. That was
that was awesome. So then they get to the elevator, but the elevator's up. So they have to climb or fly. You don't have gravity. So they're flying up, but then like the timer goes off and they start to fall, and she grabs on, he grabs on, and a xenomorph is right there and he grabs her. And it's like,
she's falling.
Yeah, she's falling.
I didn't quite understand if the xenomorph saved her or like that xenomorph was the xenomorph from the vagina wall.
Yeah, because he has the scar on the head.
One, right? Yeah, scars. That was Scar, Mufasa's brother, alien. I don't quite understand what happened.
Gingerly catches her instead of impaling her on his tail like he could have done.
But it catches her and puts her in a safe corner of the elevator shaft and lets her go. It's not still holding her.
Yeah, that made no sense to me. That was literally because how do we get her here? And it's like, it puts her there.
I literally don't know what happened. I don't know if the alien was trying to do something, if the alien did something that I thought was threatening, but it ended up helping her, or if I missed something. I need to see it again.
The elevator, because of the gravity, is falling back down. And I think, here's what I think the movie is trying to say.
Okay.
I don't think it said it right. I think the alien went, oh, fuck, and tried to like get out of the way.
Got it.
But didn't want to do it with her.
Got it.
I don't know why.
Either way, the alien is responsible, purposely or inadvertently, for saving her. And that it's like the elevator shaft. It's a cool scene. The elevator shaft is such that like the elevator is not a rectangle. It's got the corners cut off. So if you're in a corner of the elevator shaft and you crunch in, the elevator could pass you by, right?
Yep. So she's pressed against the wall. The alien's pressed against the wall. The elevator goes down, crushes some other xenomorphs. Cool scene. Xenomorph gives her the Alien 3 treatment. Oh, no. And then all of a sudden, pop, Andy jumps down, kicks the xenomorph midair, kicks the xenomorph all the way down the bottom. He lands on it, shoots it a whole bunch, and goes, get away from her, you bitch. And I was like, when did Timmy show up from South Park? Like, what is going on here? He didn't even want to say that line. That was such a groaning, eye-rolly, cringy-ass line. It was so misplaced. I love fan service. I don't mind that you went, get away from her, you bitch. But do that when you're jumping, not when you land on it, shot its head off with 48 rounds, and then say it.
So I'll tell you, at this point in the movie, the balloon is still and has been very up for me. I've been on board. There's a lot of things in it I don't care for, but I like the things that you're saying tanked the balloon for you. It didn't tank it as much for me as it seems to have for you. A couple things I didn't like, but the fact that it wasn't Prometheus, it wasn't Covenant, it was way more like the first 4 Alien movies. Real sets, real thought out scenes of okay, how can we make this a harrowing thing with facehuggers? We've all seen facehuggers in 7 movies now. So
I don't think I've ever had a movie that had the balloon go all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom and then back up and down. Yeah. This one, like, so it's all the way at the top. It's rocking. Then Rook shows up and it's floating in the mid range because I'm feeling gross about it. And it's bam, right back up. You're killing pregnant ladies. You're showing me awesome bitch and shit. Then Prometheus gets introduced and you're staining yourself. You're sullying your good movie.
In it.
Yeah,
you stepped in black goo.
With the shitty Prometheus, blasted down to the bottom. And then you show me anti-gravity xenomorph fight, which is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You hit it so hard that if you didn't have Prometheus goo, it would have been through the roof. One of the best movies I've ever. I would have been like obsessed. It would have blasted the balloon out to the next level. You couldn't have brought me down, but you had Prometheus goo in there. So now it's just like floating and pretty high. You've bought me a lot of goodwill. But I'm like, well, maybe that's it. If that's the end, if you just had to go get the goo and now you've introduced it and that's it, fine. But the third act is coming.
So see, that's the thing is at this point, I've had fun. This is what I hope the movie would be, essentially.
Sure.
There's a bunch of stuff I wish weren't in. There's a bunch of stuff that exceeded my expectations. But for the most part, we are just having a fun, what are we on now? 4, 5, 6, let's call it 7th installment of just the Aliens franchise, not counting the Predator crossovers. So like I'm fine with it. I have not been groaning. However, you said you like fan service. This movie, I don't know if it relied, but it had so many, and I mean so many callbacks, visual, like literal computer screens. And I mean the exact same computer screens as other movies, the exact same sounds from other movies. Scenes, sequences. We have a man standing behind a woman showing her how to use a pulse rifle. We have, you're not allowed to use the pulse rifles. You can't shoot them in here. We've already seen that. We've already seen so many of these things, so many of these concepts, literally the blocking of a shot in the same exact thing.
And that's the thing. It's not that you're just reusing things that we've seen before. You're pointing them out. You're going, huh?
Well, when you say the thing about the get away from her, you bitch, that's such a big one. Like there's one specific shot, like a computer screen, and it's a red kind of square with a yellow cross through it. And it was in the end of one of the movies. I forget if it was Alien 1 or Aliens. But regardless, it's the same exact screen. And it was used during like something's malfunctioning or exploding thing. It was just in the background for this. But I think they wanted your brain and your eyes to be like, I know what that is. This feels like Aliens. And it worked. But
did you ever play Alien Isolation?
Yeah. And I know that there was a lot of stuff in it from there.
The save phone, the phone that you pick up, that you save at, that was in the space station, which that's a great, I think that's cool.
But the fact that like there was the same sounds, like when they had a tracker that was looking for the sleep pods in the beginning of the movie, the tracker was making the same noise.
Why is that a problem though? That's the sound that trackers make.
No, because they improvised a motion detector device in Alien. And that makes the same noise as, years later, the same noise as a cryotube finder. But like, okay, like let's say that's okay. This thing also made the same noise. That thing was the same exact computer screen. That thing was okay, it's too much at this point. And then when you say he jumps down and get away from her, you bitch. I like that he stuttered the line because it makes it a little bit different, but totally unnecessary and just...
It doesn't make any sense.
Lucasfilm. Yeah, it was just a Ronto. That's what it was. It was a Ronto with Jawas swinging off of it. And I was like, that's when I was starting to be like, guys,
no,
don't
not
mess
even
this
that.
up.
It's a droid you've never seen before going, na, 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 na. Some other droid going, and they're like, that's hysterical. That's so fucking funny. Put that in my movie.
Do you know what that droid is called?
I don't give a fuck.
An ass. I thought you were going to know what it was, even though you don't.
What is it?
And I think it's an ASP and then an ASP and then
ASP.
Like ASP 7.
Yeah.
Right, so
69.
So
so that's the thing. It's like, oh my God. And it keeps coming back to this. The prequels, the fucking special editions, like, oh my God, you're doing so much unnecessary things. And it's like this movie was doing so well. And like you said, awesome. I'm so on board. You really, really had to work hard to kick me off, and you managed to. That pisses me off almost more. And again, I wouldn't have even minded if that stupid "get away from her, you bitch" line was there. You just made it stupid by being like,
right? Yeah.
Oh, so dumb. But that's okay. Look, and the fact that ends one of the greatest like scenes we've seen in the Alien franchises, like so badass, and then it to be like, oh, you just took the wind out of your own sails.
Yeah, and it didn't recoup it for me. It definitely now from here on in, it turns into it's the third act, but it turns into like it feels like acts 3, 4, and 5, and it doesn't end as many times as other movies I've seen. But there's definitely like one point where I thought that was what we were trying to accomplish. And then like another whole thing happens. And I was like, why is that part even necessary? But
they get up there. She puts the lady in the cryo tube. She's going to get in the cryo tube. She tells Andy that she doesn't care if he comes with her to the planet, because there's a big plot line where they're like, oh, Andy, you can't even come with us to the planet, dumbass. And he's like, wee. But she's like, I don't care. We're going to figure it out. So you're like, okay, fine. And the things about the space station is about to crash into the Saturn ring. Rook is like, let me take over the spaceship. Let me take over the spaceship. And they're like, okay. And he tries to take over the spaceship, and they're like, psych, bitch. And they take it back from him. It's more complicated than that.
He's paraphrasing, but trust me, his way is better.
Psych. And then the space station crashes into the ice ring, and it's cool. It's really cool.
And it's slow. Like it starts like it's like rubbing against it. And parts
like a cheese grater. Yeah.
It doesn't just explode right away, which is cool.
So it's a great scene. It looks great. Awesome VFX, which tells me you have the money to be baller and do it right. So they're crushing it.
It's a fun device.
Yeah.
It looks cool. Like you said, it looks cool. It adds to the excitement of the overall scene and part of the movie.
And Rook's like, no, he dies. Cool. Good. Sayonara.
Good.
Then they get in the cryo sleep. Rain's about to hop in her own cryo tube, and she's like, we'll see you on that other planet we're going to. All of a sudden, whoop, 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 whoop. cryotube's having a malfunction. She's like, no. She opens it up, and her friend is like, oh my God, I'm so pregnant. It happened so quick. And now she's like super pregnant. It's like, blah, blah, blah,
pregnant
blah, blah.
as fuck.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh no, you injected yourself with Prometheus goo. And I'm like, oh no, this movie's going to suck from here on out. And she gives birth to some weird pod.
Vagina. She gives birth to a smaller wall
pod,
vagina.
Wall vagina, pod vagina. And then you see a little baby. And then the baby looked at me, and then the baby waved at me. Yeah. And she chucks the baby, who's like bleeding acid, into the floor, and he sinks into their cargo hold. And she's like, well, I got to go down there. And the woman's freaking out. And she's like, oh my God, I'm lactating black goo. And I'm like, oh no. And she goes down into the cargo hold, and there's like a Prometheus idiot down there. There's like some fucking
Wait,
Prometheus.
what happens to the mom? I forget.
I'll tell you in a second. So she goes down there, and there's like
Rain goes down there, right? Or the mom goes down?
The mom's lying on the floor freaking out.
Right.
Rain goes down there, and she finds the Prometheus architect abortion. And he sucks. He doesn't look cool. He's like an amalgamation of the Alien Resurrection human alien, but not nearly as cool. Like, a lot of people shit on that. They're like, that sucked. That ruined that movie for me. I'm like, this movie was like, hold my fucking beer.
Yeah, it was like, compared to this, yeah. It makes that hybrid alien look a lot better with the little pickup nose.
Yeah, he's like, he's a little cutie. And he's got the little eyebrows. He's like, mommy.
Little skull face.
But like, look, I love Alien Resurrection. Mm-hmm. I love how fucked up that ending is. This disgusting thing that is repulsive is like, love me, mommy. And she's like, no, I'm going to shoot you out a little tiny hole. All your guts are getting sucked out. And
take
it's like
all your CG guts pulled out and bones.
Oh, but it's great. And it's sad, and you feel bad for it as it's dying. This movie, you're like, kill this thing as quick as possible. This is going to drag on for 20 minutes, isn't it? The fight.
Wait, you said amalgamation. It's an amalgamation of that creature,
the alien architects from Prometheus, and a xenomorph. So it like is growing a tail and like.
I would also like to add a Kaminoan from Attack of the Clones.
No.
Yeah, long, tall, skinny, gray aliens with giant eyes.
Yep. He stands up, and his crotch is like a tiny little like gross hole. And a woman in our theater goes, "Where'd his junk go?" And I was like. And this movie had not been a shout out at the Screen Movie, but this woman could not handle. She could not hold on to it.
I had one great audience thing, but it actually deflated the movie. But when we get there, I'll tell you.
So then she's like, I'm going to decouple the cargo hold to drop into the Saturn ring and take this thing with it. This thing tricks her and scrambles back upstairs and kills the pregnant friend. He breaks her neck or whatever. That's what we see. That's how we see her die.
Okay.
He's like squishing her to death, which is like stupid. Anyway, huge bitch and fight scene. She gets sucked out into space.
So she's got a spacesuit on.
She gets a spacesuit on.
And there's these like manual levers that because essentially this ship that they escape in.
It's a video game mission. Yep.
It looks like, you know what it looks like? It looks like one of the troop carriers from Starship Troopers.
Totally.
It's like a staple-shaped ship that holds onto a box. So their idea is now they got to drop this box because it's got this creature in it, right?
Yep.
She's got these handles. Her line, like her safety line, gets caught in one or whatever. Mm-hmm. She ends up dropping into space, and in a really cool cinematic way, right when she drops into space, like there's a hole in the floor, she drops through. It sucks everything out. And the second you get there, the entire movie goes silent because now you're in the vacuum of space.
It's awesome.
I thought it was so effective as a sequence in a film. But
what are you thinking the whole time? This would be way cooler with a xenomorph.
Yeah, like there's no reason to have this stupid Prometheus bullshit. But at that point, I was like, you've already made the movie. Like, I know this is how I know this. I'm not going to be with you for the rest of this journey. I'm just sitting in this theater.
It's a great sequence, though. Here's the thing. Like, now the balloon is just being fought over where I'm like, this is awesome. It looks good. It's done so well. It's so tense. But then this thing appears, and I'm like, you're just reminding me that Prometheus exists, and that ruins this movie.
Like if you held your hand up kind of like a foot in front of your face just to cover the creature and just pretended that it was something better behind your hand.
It was like, it's a cool scene.
So she gets sucked into space.
Did you ever watch that show Tailspin? Do you remember this show?
Friends to life through thick and thin for another tailspin.
Yeah.
Oh, tailspin. Yeah, I remember a little bit.
Did you ever get in the pool and stand on a kickboard?
Oh, hell yeah.
Pretending that you were Kit sky surfing?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
She drops into space. And like I said, it immediately sucks into the void of space, the vacuum of space, no sound. I love it.
Awesome.
I would say in the theater I was in, that had like maybe 50 people from all the way in the back. Some fucking dickhead was sleeping and snoring. So what would have been a super cool moment of going from a bitch and fight scene to absolutely no sound. And
just
everyone
snoring.
in the theater started laughing. And I was like, I love the movie The Exorcist. We've talked about this, but I don't like seeing it with people because there's so many points where people laugh and it takes me out of the movie and it ruins what the movie is effectively doing. This happened immediately. I was like, that's this fucking guy just ruined it. You know what I mean?
So they fight outside. She's trying to tangle her way up, and then she yanks the cord, the last bit, pops the lever. The entire tanker comes down at her, and she just like braces herself, and she goes through the hole in the bottom. It yanks the thing. I don't know. The aborto. Yanks the aborto.
The skinny pumpkin head.
Yeah, skinny
That's
pumpkin
what it looks
head.
like, anorexic pumpkin head.
yeah, absolutely. It's Pumpkinhead who got plastic surgery. He's like, I look so good now. He looks like the weird Squidward, like handsome Squidward, but like Pumpkinheady. It's so weird. Anyway, he gets sucked into the Saturn ring and gets destroyed. The coolest thing also, in the deep background, you see the space station still getting ripped to shreds.
Yeah. It's cool.
Fucking cool. But then you're like, you fucking Prometheus. So then she climbs in her pod and is like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm the last surviving fan service, last surviving member of the whatever my ship was called. Bye-bye. And that's the end. And here's the thing.
She literally does say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Last surviving member of the whatever it was to her ship. Bye-bye.
Okay. The alien is one of the greatest designs in ecology and creature ever, hands down, period.
Mm-hmm.
Facehugger gets on you, puts the thing in your belly. It pops out. The eggs, the queen, all of it. We understand its life cycle.
Yeah.
The later movies kept trying to add to that. The Kenner toys did a better job. It gets on a gorilla. You get a gorilla alien. You get on a snake. You get the snake alien. Fucking cool. I get it.
Yeah.
Prometheus goo is like, wild card bitches, there are no rules. And you're like, you can't do that up against one of the best, most laid out, perfect ecologies in cinema history and be like, and then the goo is wild card. You saw a rat. He got injected with the goo. He got crushed. He came back, and a couple seconds later, he turned into a mutant monster beast. Pregnant lady injects herself with it. What should happen to her?
She turns into a pregnant mutant monster beast.
Exactly. Instead, she's fucking fine, but her baby turns into a nonsensical creature. None of that makes any sense. The
Agreed.
Prometheus movie had this same problem. What happens when you poke at the goo? You take your helmet off and poke at the goo. Nobody knows. Some people turn into snake creatures. Some guy turns into a big,
melty face.
One guy turns into Quasimodo. None of it makes any sense. There are no rules for it. Sometimes a backburster pops out your fucking back. What are the rules here? Oh, we have none. It just fucks with your DNA. Yeah, but if you don't have any rules, it's not cool. It's literally not cool. Nobody likes something that you can't predict or have any sort of
frame. You need a frame of reference, an anchor point. And what's hard about this specific franchise with that is the rules that were established made so much sense. We're so fucking cool. Literally, we've all abided by those rules for decades.
Yes.
Video games, movies, comic books, toys. Even like you said, not only is the Kenner toys a better idea of that, but they still followed the same rules.
The fucking rules.
And it is cool to have that because that's think about it the same thing with character development. If you're like, this guy is a space monk. He only believes in this. This is what he fights for. This is what he believes in. And then you make a movie where he does the exact opposite of all that. You're like, you can't do that. I've known that character for 30 years, and that's not what a Jedi does.
I hate the just wild card bitches. I like the idea of something that destabilizes your DNA. That's a cool idea.
Sure.
But it needs to be consistent about how it's ingested and when it causes it, what the base form of that is. The fact that that woman was fine and didn't mutate into a monster that was pregnant, I wouldn't have cared if she still had a pregnant monster baby. That works too. That's part of the rules because we know how babies fucking work. If a mom drinks too much while she's pregnant, the baby gets messed up. If you inject goo into you, you get messed up and the baby gets messed up. Like they have no rules to follow. So they're just like winging it and it feels stupid to me. Prometheus is stupid.
Well, just like Prometheus was stupid, but it was Ridley Scott directed it, right?
Yeah.
That was his movie. He wanted to make it that way. I don't agree with it. Fine. Now you have this movie, which
now Ridley Scott's stupid. That sucks. I respected him.
I agree completely. But like
Ridley Scott, I respected you.
This movie was so good for 75%. The other 25%, it was like, but why did you do that? You didn't. And I'm assuming it's because Ridley Scott was doing it. But it was like, if you just take those couple things out, or like you said, you change that last thing to a xenomorph, boom, the movie was great, I would say. Yeah, I mean, I'd give it an A-, maybe.
You would have went from that 75% to a 90% for me.
Yeah, you're just probably right.
And people were like, oh, well, I thought it was cool that it bridged the gap to Prometheus. And like, I'm trying to permit that Prometheus exists because I hate the fact that every time I see a xenomorph, I think of, I'm a playing robot. You blow.
Oh, there weren't any flutes in this.
I know.
Why did they do that?
I'll do the fingers. Like, it just reminds me that idiot made xenomorphs now. Why are you ruining xenomorphs for me?
Yeah.
Like, just stop doing Prometheus. And like somebody, one of my favorite authors, he's on TikTok, Jason Pargin. He was like, this is why Alien sequels have a tough time. The first movie, everybody's like, it's a haunted house slasher in space. It's not, it's a mystery. He goes, every piece of it, we find a derelict spaceship. That's a mystery. We go explore it. We find this, we find an alien being. Every piece is keeps going forward because of a piece of the puzzle that's introduced to them. The sequel said, I'm not playing the mystery game. I'm going to shoot it all up. Mm-hmm. And people got kind of weirded by that. Some people loved it. Some people were like, oh, I missed the beginning. So then they went back to their original formula. But then you're like, well, then you just rehashed it. But you rehashed it in a different location. So, okay, I guess. The fourth one did the same thing, but it tried to introduce new things every time. But none of it was a mystery. We all knew what was going to happen. Then Prometheus is like, I'm going to reintroduce the mystery, but I'm going so far off course, you're going to be mad at it because now I'm just a different movie altogether, and it's stupid, and it doesn't make any sense why it looks so futuristic. We already did an episode about that. But I thought that was very astute.
I agree.
All the movies are trying to make up for what the first one did or the second one did because they're both blueprints for what this franchise can be.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think somebody said that this movie is doing the best of all worlds. And that's where I was like, you know what? For as stupid as Prometheus is, this did it the best.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because I don't mind the idea that, well, there is something that humans can steal from the xenomorphs and the facehuggers. They have some sort of DNA that makes them very versatile. I actually buy that as a concept. I just hate that it was introduced in such a terrible fashion in a different movie altogether.
Right. It's the same thing that a similar thing, I should say, I guess, that we say about Predator. The concept of Predator is so simple. And Predator 1 and Predator 2 are essentially, if you strip them, the same exact movie.
Yeah.
One is in a jungle and one is in the city. There's really no other difference. The Predators are different. They have different accessories and weapons, but the code is the same. The rules are the same, right? The landscape is different, but it's also the same. To make a good Predator movie,
concrete jungle. Oh.
Yeah. To make a Predator movie, you don't need to change anything. Now, I guess you could wear that system down. You could wear that blueprint down. But if you can make a good movie, it shouldn't matter.
Prey proves this. Prey proves
think
this.
about this, dude. How many slashers have you and I watched and enjoyed for one reason or another? 2,000? Like, I mean, a slasher movie is not reinventing the wheel. Even Scream is not reinventing the wheel. It might be revitalizing. It might be turning something on its head.
Scream followed the rules. The only thing it did different was I'm aware that the rules are there for a reason.
I'm going to tell you about the rules.
Yeah.
But it's like, you think about that, all slasher movies follow the same blueprint, but you have to take, okay, I'm going to make a slasher movie. My killer is going to be this, and it's going to happen at this, and these are the kills. If you could do that and make a good enough story, your movie will succeed. Same thing with Predator. You don't have to have the greatest acting. You don't have to add to the Predator lore. Just make a cool Predator hunting movie. The same thing is true with Aliens, and I think it's almost like I really do agree with the mystery versus action kind of comparison there. But that means you can make an alien action movie, or you can make an alien thriller suspense movie, mystery movie. You pick.
And this movie did a little bit of both.
I agree, and I think it did it well. That's why I would say this is probably, I mean, it certainly is better than the last two Alien movies. I'd have to think about it and sit on it to see where I rank it in my Alien movies. It's certainly not better than one or two.
I'm so torn. Because I think it has some of the best scenes of the entire franchise, but then sullies itself with an awful choice for VFX, which is personal for me.
Sure.
And then sullies itself with fucking Prometheus goo, which doesn't make me want to watch the movie again.
Well, how about this? If you could lift out, I don't think it's fair to say lift out the Ian Holm stuff, but lift out the Prometheus and Covenant stuff, because let's pretend that doesn't exist. Like, I know you feel that way about the prequels, right?
I'm scrubbing it. They find the laboratory. They find something else, not alien goo. All the rest stays the same.
All the Dark Horse comics were trying to bioengineer aliens into weapons. So just go with that theory of it.
And then, classic. And then at the end, there's a xenomorph.
Sure.
I mean, it's better than Resurrection.
Yeah, I think it probably is.
It's better than 3. So it depends on where you put 3.
I think I have a very hard. This is like, if you have a personal connection to a trial, to a case, you have to excuse yourself from the jury.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like this because I fucking grew up with 3 and to a certain extent 4. So even though I know that they are flawed in many ways,
I love 4 though. Yeah.
I love 3. I love 3 and 4 so hard that even if I recognize that this Romulus is a better movie, maybe, I don't know that I can rank it higher than them.
So
because those
where do you put
attached to
between 1 and 2? Where do you put them? Do you one just 1 and 2? Is 2 better than 1 for you?
I can't do that. It's like Star Wars and Empire. Well, I mean, even before your analogy, they are so different. Alien is the movie that I would use to describe to someone what a suspense movie should be. There's so many scenes in one that give me goosebumps, and you're like, this is an effective scene, an effective sequence because of how you're building tension, relieving tension, surprising jump scares, thwarting expectations. It's fucking phenomenal.
And then 2 is one of the best action movies ever made.
Sci-fi action movies.
And a pinnacle of practical effects. A pinnacle, like one of the greatest.
Absolutely. And I can't, it's like saying, you could also ask me this question and be like, hey, fat kid, you like cookies or cake better? It's like, dude, I'm a fat kid. I love both. And that's how I feel about that. I couldn't tell you Alien or Aliens was better.
They're
Could you?
so fucking no. Well, I think Alien is better than Aliens purely because of it uses actual filmmaking craft to tell a story that it's a single location with 5 people. Think about this. Who is Ripley? She's not even that good of a... Yeah, exactly. Like when you talk about character development, who is Ripley? She wants to get home. She's kind of a bad at. No. I'm not saying what her job is. She's a space trucker. Tell me about any of those characters. You can't. The movie has no characterization for them, but she's one of the greatest characters in movie history. She becomes
I would
that
debate
character.
The shit out of that.
We can do it later. Let's not do it now.
No, I agree. But we should, though. That would be fun if you feel that strongly about that.
I think the first movie is a better movie, though, because the second movie relies on
Sure.
in place of film craft.
Yeah. I guess that's fair.
But like you said, holy shit. They're fucking back-to-back banger movies, and you don't get one without the other. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like it's unfair to pick a movie that is based on the blueprint of the other. But like shit, Aliens might be better. It's so hard. But where you have to start like making decisions is between 3 and 4. I like 4 better than I like 3. Because I think that was the first one I saw in theater, and I was like, this is badass, and I like all the stuff it does, flaws and all, but you don't get it.
Well, you know what? It's consistent. And I got to say, if you either ignore the Covenant stuff or the Prometheus stuff in this new one, or if you accept it as part of the franchise, this movie was consistent in what it was doing until that last act where it kind of fell apart a little bit.
Yep.
But like, as ridiculous as Resurrection is, and as much as it does not fit with the original 3 movies, start to finish, it is a believable world in and of itself. The aliens in that movie do and act like I would expect them to. The characters do. Ripley does. It might not be the same Ripley as in Aliens.
I like how they explain how she gets to be a different character in this one.
I do too. It was like, for what it is. It's very comic booky and very silly, but
again, when you look at the Dark Horse comics and how fucking good they are, it shows you that it can be done. It doesn't need to be sullied with your bullshit. Like,
it definitely does not need it for sure.
So you have, for me, 3 falls lower because it's really bleak. That's not a fun one to watch. When I watch Alien Resurrection, I'm like, yeah, fucking cool. I'm having a good time, even when it is at its weirdest. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I think I would put this 4th, and then I'd put the 3rd one after it if there wasn't the Prometheus stuff in there.
Sure.
So it's really hard for me. I like the exercise. Somebody else said this. Somebody else was like, well, what if he had to do that? I said, what do you mean? And like, what if Ridley Scott was holding it hostage? Like, I won't let you make this movie. I won't give you my blessing. Yeah. I won't be an executive producer unless you use, it's like when every Star Wars thing has to acknowledge that the prequels existed, has to like have a battle droid in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You're forced to do that. LucasArts says you're not allowed to erase the prequels despite how bad they are. If you have to do that, I guess he did the best he could with it. But I don't know if I don't know. Like, I don't know what the case is.
Like, you want to talk to the director one day and be like, psst,
hey,
psst, did you have to do, the goo? Did you have to do the goo?
Was Ridley Scott just like holding the gun to your head and like,
I like in my idea when you're saying that, psst, like Ridley Scott walks by and the director's like waves at you.
Shh, I'll tell you later.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's like he stomps his foot 2 times. Okay, I got it. Say no more.
So it's. I'm so torn on it because again,
do you know what you give it on a scale from 1 to 10 or like a letter grade? You know what you would give it?
Like I said, I give it a C+.
Oh, see, I think I'd give it a B because I accept it.
If there's 2 things it did, like I will never accept Prometheus. You can't make me. If on a level, you have to draw a line, and this happens for everything, where I will not go there. It doesn't matter how apologetic you can be about it. It doesn't even matter if you do a good job with the shitty thing. Prometheus is not for me. It won't be. I reject that movie on like a religious level. You know, like there's a moral standard that I have.
Are you
to
saying
have.
that you would stand on the top of a waterfall and drop a little bit of your drink into the waterfall and then fall into it and just dissolve?
Sure. That movie sucks. It's
At least it had that one good part.
which good part?
I'm making it up. There is.
Psych. Psych. Yoink, bitch.
The ship looked cool.
For a different timeline.
Oh, absolutely. Not for aliens.
Not
I'm just
for
saying the ship looked cool.
God, none of it works for aliens. I know what this is. Squeaky, squeak, squeaky, squeak. It's a weapons factory. How do you know that, Idris Elba? You handsome fuck. You haven't even been off the ship yet. How do you know? How do you know anything? Fucking Charlize Theron's here, wasting my time. Fuck. I like, that's the thing. Like, you have to have a line where you just go, no, you're not going to make that. You're not going to sell me on that movie. Stop trying to make fetch a thing. It's just not. So if I can cut that out, which I can't, because it rubs your face in it, just like hard, like a dog shit. You're just like fucking rubbing my face in it. So yeah, it's a C+, which sucks because the movie up until that point was a straight A-. But you did a, to me, an ethically unforgivable resurrection of a ghost and then sullied it with Prometheus. If you hadn't done that, no, Prometheus would have always fucked it up for me. Yeah.
Wasn't he technically a ghost in the shell?
I like that. So yeah, to our listeners, what was the name of that fucking guy who was just ragging on us? Andre pays for pussy. I can't believe he's like, they gave me a shout out.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone knows who that is probably. So you should. So
on, what movie was it that we were talking about it? And he just left like 40 comments. That's like, oh, they're so pissed off. Aaron's so pissed off. What a piece of shit. I was like, this guy is just it's like, I'm glad you listened to the whole episode and enjoyed it. Even if it was just a rag on me. But then he was also like, oh, Aaron's such a dummy. And then he was like, actually, it's an interesting fun fact. These two are Canadian actors.
And the funny thing is, neither one of us is Canadian.
So I can't wait to hear what he has to say about this.
Let us know what you guys think. I want to know what everybody else thinks because not a lot of my like close everyday friends have seen it yet. Yep. So I haven't had any, like, Rumi's always my go-to because whether I agree with you, don't agree with you, or don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, you're always my favorite and first person that I want to hear because you always, even if you are talking out of your ass, you have some good shit to say. No, but it's always fun to talk. It doesn't matter if we agree or not. It's two different conversations, but it's always fun to have. But I haven't even talked to my normal, regular, every week movie friends to see what they think. And I haven't seen anything online really too much. So guys, tell us what you think. What did you like? What did you dislike? Did anything really, we say bop the balloon up. Did anything really raise the level of this movie for you? Did anything swat it down? Where do you rank this in the franchise?
Yeah,
I really want to know what you guys think.
Because it's always very interesting to where this fits in the franchise. Because like people have been hitting me up because I said I wasn't going to spoil it, but I was like, I have VFX notes, and a lot of people have seen it. We're like, holy shit! People that I work with, a lot of my VFX friends are like, yeah, that was pretty fucking bad. So people are like, it didn't really take it out for me, but it's just like, man, it's tough. It's tough, but yeah.
We actually, while we were live casting this, we just got a message from the VFX supervisor of that movie, and he said, guys, I was trying to make it look like Peter Cushing.
I was trying to make it look like Lance Hendrickson.
He's like, who's Ian Holmes? Oh, man. Ultimately, end of the day, it's another Alien movie, and it certainly didn't fail. It wasn't nearly as bad as the last two. It was fun. It had a lot of good things in it, and it made me feel like I was watching an Alien.
It nailed it on so many levels. Like Rogue One, felt like a Star Wars movie from the 70s. This felt like a horror movie from the 70s. They did a great job putting me back in that world, and they did a great job making it exciting and scary and cool. So, fuck, it's very, very split for me.
You'd watch it again, right?
I don't know if I would, because the things that make me mad make me more mad than the things that made it good. The high
you could
five.
Always stop. You could always watch like 75% of it and then just turn it off.
Oh, how good am I at that? Very rarely can I turn off a movie. Like, I don't know. It's hard because it's like, yeah, the things that make me mad, it's like, that's not worth the high blood pressure, where it's like the stuff that makes me want to high five. You know, what if
the DVD is like the director's cut got a lot more vaginas?
I was going to say, what if the director's cut had better Ian Holmes? Because that's the part. If Ian Holm looked better,
yeah,
how would I feel about, like, because I wouldn't have gone in already all chafed up from it.
Yeah. The balloon would have been high. When the balloon started going down, it already would have been starting from a higher place.
From a higher place. So, like, is the Prometheus bullshit going to piss me off as bad? But, like, Prometheus pissed me off more than shitty Ian Holm. Shitty Ian Holm is just personal because that's
for sure. Yeah.
My job, you know?
What if Ian Holm had a vagina in the director's cut? And what if it looked really good?
I think his estate would be really confused. They're like, I know we said okay, but what? What if the popcorn bucket
that was the estate's one stipulation. They were like, you got to put a lot of vaginas in this movie. And they were like, but it's an alien movie. You're like, I'm sure you can find some places on the wall, in a birthing tube. Just put a couple around.
What if they made the popcorn bucket Ian Holm?
Oh, damn.
Just in his severed torso, it's just popcorn.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh, so weird. Yeah, tell us what popcorn bucket you would fuck. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Launchpad Pod, on our website, launchpadpod.com, and on YouTube. Holy shit.
Holy shit is right.
Apologies to all the people who love Prometheus. Yeah, I got some friends that are like, I like that movie. Like my buddy Mike, who I work with on my other show. This was his introduction to the alien universe, was Prometheus.
Oh, I thought you were going to say this movie.
No. He had never seen an alien movie, and he went and saw this and was like, oh, this is cool. Oh, is that an alien? Huh, I should go watch those alien movies. Oh,
that
these
feels
movies
like a
are
lost soul. Like when you hear someone talking about like, oh yeah, in college, one time I took drugs. One time I took a drug, and then, oh man, all I did the rest of college is drugs. And you're like, oh, if only someone could have stopped you that first time and been like, no, man, there's another way.
There's another way to find aliens. You didn't have to start there. But it's funny though, because like, you know, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. And like when we talked about it last week, and it's like, I was like, I'm trying to be good, not shit all over Prometheus. I'm trying to be respectful of other people's opinions. But this is my show over here, and we can shit all over whatever we want.
Everything. I think there would be a fundamental life difference in someone who is introduced to the Alien franchise through Prometheus. Like, I would question every decision that guy made. And I'm not saying it would be wrong. I'm not saying I would judge him. But everything he decided, even if he agreed with me, I'd be like, what mental pathway did you take to get here?
Which Predator movie did you see first? Which Exorcist did you see first? No, but like then we talked about
His
it. And
introduction to Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the one with Matthew McConaughey.
But we talked about it. And he's like, you got to let me have one bad opinion. I was like, the fact is, I know you're a smart guy. So I'm going to give you this one time to be wrong.
Well, here's the thing, though. Think about it like this, and this is kind of reverse engineering. If you'd never
don't start talking about engineers.
If you'd never seen an alien movie, and you saw Prometheus, it wouldn't bother you, because if Prometheus was a space movie that had absolutely nothing to do with xenomorphs, it wouldn't make us upset if it wasn't part of that universe. Same thing with Covenant. If it was just this movie about weird space fluting and genetically modifying alien DNA and human DNA, generic alien, not a xenomorph alien, it wouldn't matter. We wouldn't care. It'd be like, that was a weird movie with fucking flute robots and stuff.
But this is just like, this is where Darth Vader comes from. It doesn't
exactly.
It
If it was
doesn't
like this
bump
is
you.
right,
But then
if this
suddenly-
is a movie about a space slave who gets picked up by some warriors to help them, and he turns out to be the chosen one, you'd be like, I don't care. That was stupid. But like when you're like, that was Darth Vader, you're like, from Star Wars, Darth Vader. So when you watch Prometheus, you and I are like, wait, that turned into the xenomorph? It doesn't make sense. But if you have no frame of reference, he might have liked it or didn't care or thought it was fine. And I can almost understand that. It's almost like ignorance is bliss. That's the best example I've ever heard of ignorance being bliss. Like, that
like
poor
Sammy
guy didn't know how bad that movie was.
Sammy doesn't know that Jar Jar Binks sucks. Like she doesn't know that she, like,
it's not just that he sucks. She doesn't know that he was a pebble in a pond that created ripples of shit through an entire imaginary universe that we care a lot about.
And that's the thing is, she will not know that I ran home and like threw toys away because of that movie. Like she will not know the nerd rage that came out of it. To her, she'll be like, "Oh, that's not as good as these other movies that I saw," but that's fine.
Misa
They're
stepped
fun.
into poopies.
Yo, it squeezed me. Oh, that's so funny. Put that in my movie. God damn it. Fuck, they're terrible. But like, it's funny how those movies, when a director is just like, I want to put all my vision into it, and you're like, how did you get to this point? You know, we have a lot of references of that now. Of Ridley Scott doing it. We have fucking George Lucas doing it. I mean, even Steven Spielberg.
I was going to say, even Spielberg.
Where it's like, I'm going to do my version, but it just retcons things that you like. I don't know. It's weird. But what do I know? I'm an idiot podcaster who has strong opinions.
I know. Bring me to Middle Earth. Or Hollow Earth. Hollow Middle Earth. Or even lower Middle Earth. Lower Hollow Middle.
And here I am looking at people complaining about the Rings of Power, which apparently like retcons some like Lord of the Rings. I'm like, look at these fucking nerds caring about TV shows.
Get your nerdy ass noses all bent out of shape. Go cry in your mom's basement while I go podcast about this franchise that I love. And I didn't like how it ended.
Yeah, so apologies to everybody who likes Prometheus. You're allowed to like what you like. I just have hours of reasons to not. Rumi, I think there's one last thing to do. Did you get your popcorn bucket? Here we go.
I was going to say, before we blast it off, we have to get in our sleep pods. Oh, man.
Give birth to this fucking baby. All right. Let's blast this thing off, Rumi. We're the Rocketeers, and we are out.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.